I'll just throw out some stats. The Aboriginal demographics in the north, according to the most recent census, indicate the population of the three territories over 100,000. 53% have self-identified as Aboriginal, 36% as First Nations, 8% as Métis, and 55% as Inuit. For Nunavut, 99% of the population is Inuit. It's a very youthful demographic, younger than non-Aboriginal. The Inuit median age is 22 years old, First Nations is 25, Métis is 30, and the non-Aboriginal is 40. Almost half of the Aboriginal population in the north are under the age of 19. It's an incredibly youthful population. It's a much higher growth rate. There are low literacy levels. Secondary education, as Sam, I think, had stated, was the dropout levels were very high. And of course, the intergenerational trauma is very, very notable. I'd like to talk about an elder who's well known in the traditional justice arena. His quote is, "We are told today that Inuit never had laws or maligait. Why? They say because they are not written on paper. When I think of paper, I think you can tear it up and the laws are gone. The laws of the Inuit are not on paper." One thing that I've noticed about going from Nunavut, moving to Ottawa, and trying to make my way around this 5,000 member building, all these people in offices, something very foreign to me is they talk about horizontal management and all these processes, and they're all in their offices with all their pieces of paper, and they call it, I think their measurement is balanced scorecard, and from where I'm coming from, it's not supposed to be a two-dimensional thing, not something on paper. You're supposed to look at it three-dimensional. It is just the vehicle you use to deal with people. It is all about people. And I think a lot of people forget that. Inuit justice, traditionally there were three things. One was maligait, which is like laws, things that are to be followed, things that you just follow. Another was peqoyait, which is things that need to be done. It's a little bit hard to translate into English. And the third is tirigususit, what is not to be done. I guess you could compare it to taboos. And when you're coming from a small community, my father was born in that nomadic lifestyle. I'm a little bit on that side of the timeline, but a little more modern. But still, I grew up in a very enclosed environment, and although I haven't seen the traditional ways, I definitely feel them, and those three things are still there. That is how I see justice. They are things that are felt, not processes that are followed. Now, I hate to mention some of the gory details of police work, but I figure you need to kind of see what things are really like in a very small, remote, isolated place. And I think it was the last time I was posted in my hometown, there was a murder. My partner gets the call, he attends, I attend. It just happened at that moment we had our third member in town, so there was at least 3 of us anyway. It was a pretty violent murder. It was in the middle of the street, Main Street, right by the school, close to the RCMP office. and it's a mess. It's pretty much a mess. Anyway, it turns out that the victim is my babysitter's father. The mother had called me earlier on in the night saying, "My husband's drunk, what should I do?" The babysitter had actually babysat probably that day, I can't remember now, but eventually, over the next day, through the course of investigation, of course we found the suspect, and of course he's well known as well. He was my brother's classmate, not much younger than myself. I grew up with everybody there, and in the end, it was all about a fight over a bottle of booze. The victim was trying to buy a bottle from the suspect, and the suspect didn't have any and didn't want to be pestered. This kid had grown up bullied, I guess, throughout most of his life. In the end, he gets, I think it was 7 years. The wife of the victim still suffers today. The suspect has gone off to correctional. He would have been remanded, held in custody in another community, totally taken away from the community, never to return until his hearing and all his court appearances. He's probably back there now, but throughout his time, I'm sure he received all the programming through the correctional system. The victim's wife, is still in the community suffering. And of course, relationships in the community are very tight-knit. She would have been dealing with the suspect family, friends, relatives, etc. And the difference between Canadian law and traditional law is Canadian law is based on crime for punishment, whereas our traditional law is about tragedy that is to be redressed.